Well, welcome back into the Mid-Norfolk garden. And we've got our very first little flush of oxeye daisy just coming into flower on the front of this border. Real mixed planting in this little area. Aquilegia that's just seeded in there. Beautiful flowering bulbs coming up, the white ones a couple of weeks later than the blue version we also grow here. But it's the oxeyes that are about to flush in front of this window over the next week or so and really give us some impact. And talking of impact, these euphorbias just planted at the base of this flowering crab, really picking up the morning sunshine here. I've got one of these planted in with the azaleas just further down the border. Just let me show you that. If I pan around, you'll see one planted in the foreground, just picking up this absolutely bombing bank of colour we've got here. Every year this does this. Catches you a little by surprise, the density of the colour in this planting, the orange, the reds, and then the lime green of the euphorbia in the foreground. Dark green, emerald green of the holly in the hedge behind. Really intensifies the colour planting here. We spent most of yesterday evening clearing out the conservatory. We've got some carpenters coming to do some work and repairs in the conservatory this spring. So all the geraniums have had to come out. Ideal time to bring those onto the patio. And they're just going to sit on this little area in front of the old pool for the rest of summer while that work's completed. This bank of iris is again just starting to come into flower. Beautiful balls of the sedum in front. Again, lime green in this morning sunlight. The tall spikes of the iris in the background. Going to flower beautifully. Let's go and have a look at some of those close-up flowers. Got several different varieties planted along here. And this rather nice pale blue really pales down to the throat with the orange stamens in the centre of these flowers. This beautiful purple, very much darker on the top of the petals than the underside, but again with lovely striation going down to the orange throat. And this slightly different variety, richer colour on the underside of the petals, almost black purple on the top. Tightly held flower, this one. Going to be superb. The lemon trees have been out now for around a week. We've finally plucked up courage looking at the overnight temperatures to pop these out. And they seem to have tolerated it okay. There's not any diebacks showing on these. And what has really benefited is the pollination. Just look at the pollination rates we've got here. Lovely clumps of young little lemons. The majority of these will drop, but not all of them will. And we've got last year's still growing on with a couple of ripe runs still to be picked. They probably won't be much good now. We've left those far too late. It's really just for show. Got a little bit of pruning to do on this tree. All this dead wood needs to be removed back to healthy wood, and we're picking over these now for any scale insect and removing the bulk of those as we find them. But once they're out, they tend not to grow quite as quickly as they have when they were in the conservatory. We photographed the alliums over at the Norfolk Broads cottage over the first part of the weekend, and the display we're getting here on the west side of the pool wall is going to be superb. This year it's underplanted with all those geraniums that have come out from the conservatory. Makes you realise just how many of these you've cultivated over the years when you have to lift them all out and start tidying them up. But they'll give us a lovely display here over the summer. And behind them, peonies just coming into bud. These plants are growing really well. Lovely bud. We don't debud these, we let them flower naturally. One big flower centrally, and then a couple of weeks later smaller peripheral buds break. Extends the flowering season unless you're picking them for cutting. in deep shade at this time in the morning, but I just thought I'd show you this little scattering of pink flowered strawberries that have run their way along at the base of this wall on the back of the cottage. This is a fruiting variety, but they aren't particularly good or large strawberries, so it's mainly grown for its flower and the display it gives. A bit of space, a bit of sun, and loose gravel like this is absolutely ideal for it. They've done really well. And again, more geraniums that have come out of the conservatory, just sheltering in this what will be a sunny spot in late afternoon, but first thing in the morning just gives them a little bit of protection against the warmth of that background wall. And let's walk you through into the vegetable garden. Again, the roses on this arch really growing away strongly. Just look at this peony, almost 4 foot in height. Bit of support just hidden away at the base there, just to help support the pure weight of those flowers. Oh, little red partridge just left the ground in front of me. This rose, again, one of my favourites, even without the flower. It's just coming and forming bud at the moment, but the colour of the fresh growth on this one, absolutely beautiful. I think we've got a little flock of red partridge that the vimer's enjoying flushing at the moment. It's really quite shady under here this time of year, till the sun comes right round. Yeah, there's a nose just looking for partridge in the background, 2 of them now, but I think they've all got safely away. So we've got a few jobs on in the garden today, which we're looking forward to utilising some of this warm weather. We've got a bit of a building project on with the conservatory undergoing some repairs, which is hopefully going to start quite soon. I've got all the staging to paint, the actual walls to lime wash, and one thing with the garden and a conservatory and an old house, you're never short of a job or two to be cracking on with.